Today's episode is brought to you by Positively Productive Systems, whose mission is to be the antidote to your stress and to provide compassionate productivity resources and coaching that help you heal and achieve. Be sure to check out both free and paid resources at positivelyproductive.com/resources.
I said, what we are going to give every single client that we work with is it a place to be able to come and not feel like your palms are sweaty. Because as business owners, I think especially as women business owners, we're telling ourselves the story. My business isn't big enough. I'm not enough. I'm not a numbers person. This feels overwhelming, so I'm not going to do it. This is hard, and I don't do hard things. And we have been on a mission to make sure that we don't ever make those feelings worse because we have enough of them. I like to call it our money stories. So you can really reflect on, how did your parents talk about money? How did your friends' parents growing up talk about money? Maybe your aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, right? They all had a conversation about money in front of you. And what about that experience did you bring with you? And it affects how you run your business.
You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a coach certified in time and stress management, helping clients make space for what matters most in their lives. Join me each episode and we'll talk about decluttering, stress management, habits, personalized productivity, gratitude, and so much more. I understand the overwhelm of life because I'm a wife, mom to kids and cats, and a former caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Today's episode is part money mindset, part financial literacy class with a guest who makes numbers feel doable and decidedly fun. So if you've ever said the words, "I'm not a numbers person," or you've managed to ignore financial information about your business and stay blissfully, though possibly stressfully, unaware of your income and expenses, you're going to want to keep listening. Today, I welcome Danielle Hayden to the Positively Living Podcast. Danielle's a reformed corporate CFO on a mission to help rule-breaking female entrepreneurs understand their numbers so they can gain the confidence needed to create sustainable profits. After spending over 10 years in the boardroom as a corporate financial officer, Danielle is now in her sweet spot as the CEO of Kickstart Accounting, Inc., where she helps business owners with bookkeeping, financial analysis, and education, and as the author of the Profit Planner book series. When Danielle isn't crunching numbers on her client's behalf or crafting the next iteration of the Profit Planner, you can find her hanging with her 2 kids or doing any and almost every fitness-related activity ranging from Spartan races to Pilates. Today, Danielle helps us understand how money mindset can block us from a critical component of our business, knowing our numbers, and how to move beyond that. She shares why we need to know our numbers. It's far more than just making money. And the 3 reports we need to run and review weekly for our businesses to thrive. She even offers a suggestion that isn't software specific, a cash dashboard. This may sound familiar as my guest Taylor on episode 97, all about Trello, does something similar in what she calls a BizHub board. It's such a good reminder that what we measure, we improve. Are you ready to improve your numbers knowledge and your numbers and help your business thrive? Then let's talk to Danielle. Welcome, Danielle Hayden, to the Positively Living Podcast. I am so delighted to have you here today.
Thank you. I've really been looking forward to this.
Because we have a seriously important topic to go over, something that we need to face, and I feel like we're not. But before we face it, I would love if you would share a bit about who you are and who you help and what makes you light up.
Yeah. So Danielle Hayden with Kickstart Accounting, Inc. I started this business almost 8 years ago with one core mission in mind. I was on a mission to help fellow business owners understand their numbers so that they can grow their business and really make a difference in the world. So I believe that entrepreneurship has the opportunity to change the world. And so I truly believe that I'm changing the world one business owner at a time. And, it was interesting when I originally started the business. I thought I was going to be able to go in, dive into people's books and say, all right, here's how we make all these amazing business decisions. Here's the metrics to track, the scorecards, the KPIs, right? Came from corporate accounting. I was a corporate CFO. So
Yeah, as soon as you said KPIs, I was like, yep.
yep. But I thought that everybody had bookkeeping in place. And we really quickly realized that we couldn't really actually do anything to help any business owner unless they had bookkeeping. So thankfully, thank God, the universe called us to really change and pivot the business. And although our goal is still to help business owners understand their numbers, we have realized that first, we need to help business owners get out of overwhelm, get out of their shame spiral of accounting, get the books in order, cleaned up, organized, and then have accurate and on-time bookkeeping so that then they can make the big business decisions. And I think that's really what lights me up is right, just being on this mission to help entrepreneurs and really be able to make a difference. And of course, I have my life outside of my business as my two kids. So I really think that not only do I get to make a difference to our clients, but then to be able to show my kids what entrepreneurship can do, not just for me, right? Like they don't just see it for me, they see it for every single one of my clients that I talk about. Their friends get to see it. So I think that that's really important, that remembering our small circle of people, our small circle of influence as well.
Oh, I love that. And what you're talking about, that ripple effect that we don't even realize, but sometimes when we do get to witness some of it and we realize that we're modeling for our kids, I talk about this all the time in terms of the productivity elements that I love to discuss and how important it is to think about yourself and to simplify life and all of those things. And it's like we're showing our kids, and that's what you're doing. And it's not just that you're showing them how to be an entrepreneur, but that you're an entrepreneur who helps other entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want them just to see that running a business is possible through me. However, for anybody who's doing that, I think that's important too.
Mhm.
But I want them to be able to see all the other people who are doing it too, and all the people who get to make an impact. So I get really excited. I light up when I get to tell my kids about a transformation or client success, and they hear about all of it. And I do it really intentionally because I want them to know that all of this is possible.
Thank you for that. That's a real inspiration for me because one of the things I didn't even realize that I would be doing is when I talk about, the people who join me on the podcast and everything that they're doing, and my kids hear this, whether they want to or not.
This is true.
Right? It sends a message, and
Yes.
it's a really good one. So speaking of messages, we get all kinds of messages, and sometimes they're the ones that are in our heads. And I know where we're going with this, but I would love for you to describe it from your perspective, having worked with so many people. What's the deal with us? What are we doing here? Because quite frankly, I know I did this. We're ignoring our numbers. We're trying to hide from them. What's going on here, Danielle?
Okay. So this is really interesting to me because I think I mentioned to you, came out of corporate accounting, again, CFO. So running the finance team, working with the board of directors, management team. So when I presented them with data, we made decisions, right? Like quick decisions. I really didn't understand money mindset. There wasn't such a thing, right? It was,
Yeah.
we're running a business. It's pretty cut and dry. What decisions are we going to make to grow the business? So at first, when I came into this, I had no idea how much shame and confusion came along with this topic. And I actually remember the first year that we started our business, I decided I'm a CPA, but we don't do taxes. And I decided I didn't want to do our taxes. So I used an old tax guy that my parents had used for a long time and called my mom. And I was like, why am I nervous? Like what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. You've known the guy forever. And here I'm sitting in this guy's office and he's talking down to me and he's belittling the business that I created. And he's asking me questions, trying. Now, thank God I'm an accountant. He's trying to talk above my head. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Right? That day that I left that office, that moment, I said, what we are going to give every single client that we work with Is it a place to be able to come and not feel like your palms are sweaty? Because as business owners, I think especially as women business owners, we're telling ourselves the story. My business isn't big enough.
Mm.
I'm not enough. I'm not a numbers person. This feels overwhelming, so I'm not going to do it. This is hard, and I don't do hard things. And we have been on a mission to make sure that we don't ever make those feelings worse because we have enough of them. I like to call it our money stories. So you can really reflect on, how did your parents talk about money? How did your friends' parents growing up talking about money? Maybe your aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, right? They all had a conversation about money in front of you. And what about that experience did you bring with you? And it affects how you run your business, and it creates a shame spiral, and you tell yourself a story, and you have to be able to get help to get out of that story, or do a lot of journaling and momentum to stop, to change the narrative,
It's so interesting to me, of course, being in the coaching world and dealing with so many service providers and coaches and stuff, and hearing the phrase money mindset. And it's so easy to try to pass off that phrase as being a little woo woo. But the fact of the matter is that these stories are very real to us, very ingrained to the point that we don't even realize it's happening. And then they truly manifest in the ways that you're talking about, where we feel such shame about whatever's going on. And that sounds strong, right? But I know, I know I felt it myself, that thing that you're talking about, like with the not enough, I'm not making enough money. Is this even really a business? How am I defining this? And then to me, I think we start connecting to what money is coming in or not coming in, how we're organizing it. And the biggest thing that I see on my end in the productivity and organizing space is, I don't know how I'm tracking this. I'm not making any sense of it. And that embarrassment, all of that we're talking about here, stops people from getting the help they need to get everything organized and straight. And that's dangerous.
So why do we think that we need to know how to do everything? I'll go back to, again, when I worked for other companies, the CEO wasn't sales. He wasn't marketing. He wasn't doing my job in finance. He wasn't paying the bills. He wasn't doing the billing. She wasn't doing the bill. Why, the day we start our businesses, do we think suddenly we have to wear every hat? And not only are we going to wear the hat, we're going to be good at it.
Right?
I forgot the last time you did accounting. Oh, it was probably never. So why do you think that because you started a business that you're supposed to be good at it? So there's a shame spiral of, I'm not a numbers person. I'm not enough. Look, I can't do it. Or I made money and I don't know where the money's going.
Mm.
I'm billing my customers. And we see this with our clients all the time. I'm billing the customers. I see all this money coming in, but I have no idea where I'm spending it. And why am I not profitable? Why can't I take money home? But if you don't have things in an organized system, if you don't have things laid out in a way where you can measure and monitor them, you're never going to be able to answer those deeper questions.
Right. And going back to what you were saying about why do we expect that we need to
Yeah.
to know how to do this? Oh, so let me think back to when I was like an accounting genius. Yeah, that would be never.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it was not my thing. Now, again, there's a distinction between acknowledging that and saying, I'm not a numbers person. But I think where this plays, at least in my mind, is this concept like of the zone of competence, zone of excellence, zone of genius. And you want to stay in the space where you are shining. Whatever that was that you created this business for is your thing, right? And then you bring on the team members. And I will tell you right now, the first thing I ever delegated, it was the
Yeah.
numbers, baby. It was the bookkeeper. I was like, I've always had a CPA, but the bookkeeper, that was the first thing I did. And I recommend to all my clients.
I'm glad you said that. A lot of people will say to me, well, I have a CPA. That's not the same.
Nope.
Your CPA is only filing your taxes. And I feel very firmly that your tax accountant should not be your bookkeeper. They shouldn't work for the same firm. They shouldn't be the same person. You need to have a checks and balance. You need to have two people in place to be able to make sure things are correct. It's in your own benefit. However, I'm going to call a spade, but I consider it lazy, but people will say to me all the time, I really just want to only work with one person. I want to have this under one roof. And all I can think every time is why? Why? Why don't you want two people on your money team and looking out for you and making sure that things are being done correctly? Your CPA should not be doing your bookkeeping. And so if you have that person in place, I'm super excited you're getting your taxes filed because that is another that is another thing I hear people.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Yeah. But what are they filing your tax return with? You need to have a bookkeeping system in place. You need to have that portion of your business organized. You need to be looking at those numbers throughout the year so that when you get to tax time, that information is accurate, correct, and you're prepared.
Okay, so that's a great tip and kind of an unexpected one. I didn't know that we are going to bring this up, but so important. And I will tell you from personal experience, and I'm glad that instinctively that I did this the right way, that it's just a push of a button to give the CPA, in my case, what he needs. And then he files the taxes. I mean, the bookkeeper keeps it all organized, and we'll get into the benefits of that and what we're accomplishing together. And so that's that side of the business. And then for me, I hand it over to my CPA for tax season, but handed over is literally a push of a button.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good catch. All right. So we've identified that there are these stories we're telling ourselves. We're scared. We're thinking we have to do it all. Positively Living Podcast is here to debunk this. And we've said it many, many times. Pick an episode, and we've probably had this discussion. You don't need to do it all. And as a matter of fact, it's not best for you to do it all. And that being said, how do we get out of this, Danielle? How do we step out, release that fear and shame, and break free of this?
So if you're tuning into the podcast right now, you're kind of doing it. I think that we expect ourselves to jump out of bed and run the marathon.
Right.
And look, I've ran a marathon. It is grueling. You need to go for a walk first, right? And then you need to get really comfortable walking, and then you have to jog. So I'm not telling you to go open up QuickBooks tomorrow, or I want you to have all of your 2021 financials put together and organized and in a space and have all this, mission accomplished. You're doing the first step. It is acknowledging that there is a money mindset and that maybe you're scared of this topic. So you can acknowledge all of those fears. And then I want you to start to release these stories that you're telling yourself, because really, again, I'm going to be a little harsh, but they're excuses. I'm not a numbers person. You started a business, so you actually do have a responsibility to be a numbers person, right? I say this all the time. The day that you collected money from a customer, the day you spent money with a vendor, is the day you started having a responsibility to acknowledge your numbers. Because if you go out of business because you ran out of cash, because you're not a numbers person, what is your customer going to do? Where are they going to go? They're relying on you. Where's your vendor going to go, right? Your vendors are counting on your income, right? You paying them, your contractors, your employees. So by saying it that you're not a numbers person, you are letting them down. You have a responsibility as a business owner. That's kind of step two, is whatever the story is that you're telling yourself, is starting to work through that story and work through the excuses, work through, I don't know how exactly, I'm not telling you exactly how to work. You can journal it out. You can take the dog for a walk. You can meditate on it, right? There's a million different ways, talk to your coach about it, therapist, whatever it might be. That part of this process isn't the same for everybody, but it's dealing with those emotions. And then it's deciding, do I want to take on pieces of this on my own? Am I going to really get educated and become an expert in accounting so that I can do this DIY style and do this the right way? Or, right, is that a good use of my time and energy? Or am I going to ask for help?
Right. And both of those could be options, but the key is to say, okay, this is what I need to do. And I was thinking when you were talking about breaking from the story, you're right. There are elements of maybe journaling it out, acknowledging it, thinking about it, talking about it with your coach. But there's also having the conversations, which you're right, we're doing today. And that's a huge reason why I wanted to do this, but also talking with some bookkeepers, right? And talking with people so that it's not just that you break free of I'm not a numbers person, but you understand that you can learn to be and like you said, figure out what level of a numbers person you want to be. Because I will tell you this too, I kind of felt that in the beginning, but I was like, but I got to figure this out. So then you say, well, it's not always I have to figure it out, but who can help me figure it out? Who can have this conversation with me? And the minute that I said, I want to pass this off to a bookkeeper, I also learned a ton as well. So it's been a wonderful, like, dual process of becoming more and I still have plenty ways to go. Just so I
Yes.
want to be very, very clear. I still go into QuickBooks Online and I'm like, okay, where's my coffee? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a starting point.
We all have something, right? Like you don't want me designing our website, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember my first website. It was bad. It looked like it was written by an accountant. So we all have the space that we are really good at and that we excel at. And I know that I'm not allowed in Canva. I'm not allowed in WordPress, right? Like those are places in my business that I'm just not allowed to go. All right. And that's okay. I've owned that. I've let go of that. I've spent a
Mhm.
lot of time and energy there. And the other piece of this is time and energy. Right? So I've heard you talk a lot about this on your show. Where are you spending your time? Right. So I had a strategy call with somebody who was interested in joining the firm as a client. And she said to me, well, right now I'm spending Sundays updating my QuickBooks. And by the end of the day, I'm really tired. I'm frustrated. And it's a day I lost with my family. So not only is she not getting the energy, she's not feeling revived. She's showing up on Monday frustrated with her business because she just lost Sunday from her family. And she didn't analyze the information. She didn't learn anything from it. She was too busy putting the transactions into QuickBooks that she never even took a step back to look and say, oh, wait, what are these numbers telling me? Like, what do I do with these numbers?
Yeah. And that's a huge part of it. And again, going back to when I mentioned like the zone of competence, excellence, genius, by the way, that comes from the book, The Big Leap. This idea that you might be capable of doing something. Listen, you're an entrepreneur. Immediately, cape equals capable. Okay. But there's a sliding scale of where we're capable, where we shine the best, what comes easy to us, what puts us in flow. And, for me, do you want to like innovate like how you can create a habit that's really going to work for you and make you excited and have fun doing it and set up a weekly schedule that's just going to elevate everything you do? I am there. Did we want to do transactions in QuickBooks? I have, oh, look at that. I have a thing. I got to go. You know what I mean? So,
I call it the black cloud, actually. So
yes, yes.
it's the black cloud that follows you around everywhere you go because it's on
Like in
your
the
to-do
Peanuts
list.
cartoon, right? We're Pigpen, like, anyhow. Yes, exactly. So when that happens, that feeds into not wanting to set a habit, right? Not wanting to follow through and be consistent. Procrastination. It's going to encourage all of those things, which is then a vicious cycle.
Well, and it puts you back in the shame spiral. So
Exactly. Because then you're not doing the thing that you didn't want to do in the first place.
yeah, yeah. I think this all goes back to, how we started was the mindset and getting out of shame. When you go to do the QuickBooks or whatever accounting software you're using, I know I keep on saying QuickBooks, but and then maybe you get frustrated. Now you've just retold the story to yourself. I'm not good with money. I'm not good with numbers.
It's like you validated what you were thinking in the first place. And it's like, it's not that you weren't good at this. It's that there's a certain way that's going to be best for you to approach it. When people say, oh, I'm just disorganized. I'm like, no, it's whatever system you were trying to use doesn't work for you. We'll come up with the system that does, and you'll get the help that you need, and we're good to go. So I was thinking, and this may have been a topic to talk about before, but I still want to bring it up in the context of what we can do next and understanding the importance not only of stepping out of the shame spiral, because we don't want you feeling shameful about this. And there is help and you can absolutely manage this, but the why we want you to, the link between understanding your numbers, having everything organized and clear, it may seem obvious, but I'd love for you to speak to that a bit in terms of the impact it has on your revenue goals and other aspects of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So the more you can dive into the actions. So I believe in momentum.
Mhm.
So as you can start to understand your numbers, as you can start to unfold the stories you've been telling yourself, the more you feel confident the more you start to change your mindset. So it's really interesting. I worked with a client a few years ago, and she said to me, all I knew was that my accountant needed my profit and loss statement for file my taxes, and I couldn't give it to them. And that's why I hired you. However, what I learned from there was that suddenly growth felt possible. Suddenly sales felt possible, right? I had the team behind me. I had the organization behind me. I was set up for success, and it shifted my entire mindset. So now when I approach a client, I'm not showing up with fear. I'm showing up with confidence. I have the systems to support you, and I'm ready to take you on. Then when I spend money, I'm spending money confidently, right? I'm investing in my business. I know where I already spent money this year. I know what's working for me, what's not working. Is this tracking to my goals this year? And it gave me permission to spend. She was telling me, she's like, I ended up doubling down on my conferences that year because I saw that I was profitable. I knew that what I was doing was working, and I wanted to double down on that growth. And I know that conferences are good for my growth. So she got to double down on her success. However, had she not been seeing her profit and loss statement throughout the year, she would have never attended those conferences. She would have thought, I don't have the cash for this, and I don't have the mindset to support my spending.
It's huge, the confidence that you can build in terms of making decisions. And I think it's so important when we think about our numbers in understanding not only what's coming in, because profitability, obviously that's the first thing we're thinking of, right? Have a business, want to, make money. But then how are we reinvesting? How are we spending it? And what are the decisions we're going to make? And that was eye-opening for me to say, okay, not only do I need to, like you said, organize my numbers because I need to give them to my CPA, and because you want to have things properly tracked in your system, but then what those numbers can tell you to make decisions for your business.
Yeah, there's so many questions that your numbers can tell you, right? It's not just, you hear a lot of buzzwords, profit, sales. How much to pay yourself, all right, as a business owner? Are you still taking owner's draws? Is it time to become an S corp? How about payroll? How about getting the other help you need in your business? Is it time to hire? Can I invest in that? Can I afford that? So we hear so many of our clients will say, I'm drowning. I know I need help in my business, but I don't think I can afford it. We run the numbers. I'm like, this is exactly what you need. You need help, right? Because that's the only way to the next step of your goals and your growth. But if they didn't have a team to come back and say, hey, what do the numbers show? They're just running on gut. And we already talked about gut, right? Because your mindset's telling you all kinds of really nasty, mean things.
Yeah, absolutely. My gut's like, don't you dare spend that money. And it's like, but
Yeah.
it's a constant, like a confusion, I think, with you, but you got to spend money to make money, but I can't spend money. I don't have the money. Wait, how about we let the numbers tell us that? Okay. So there's so much potential here. And I love it because what you're saying to me, I know inspires me to be like, okay, I want to get straight with this, but also too, even that sheer amount can feel a little overwhelming. So let's step back and can you tell us what, I don't know if there's like 3 numbers or 5, whatever it happens to be, a set of first numbers that we need to know, we need to be paying attention to, and those first steps that we can take to get on this path.
I'm going to give a suggestion if you don't have an accounting software, and then a suggestion if you do. How's that sound?
Awesome. That sounds great.
All right. If you do not have an accounting software, which if you are in business and you are taking money from customers, go get an accounting software. However, I will speak to it anyway. We call it a cash dashboard. So our weekly clients get a weekly cash dashboard from us, and you can prepare this cash dashboard on your own. The cash dashboard includes your cash balance today, your credit card balance and availability today. And I want you to do this weekly. How much money do you owe other people in the next 30 days? How much money do other people owe you in the next 30 days? So you should be able to get that from your billing software. So who owes you money? What are my sales month to date? And what are my sales compared to prior year and compared to budget? Now you can get all of that from your bank, your credit card, and your billing software. That's all you need to get that information. And that's going to help you make business decisions every single week, right? You could run through the scenarios. If I don't have a lot of cash and I don't have any invoices coming due next week. I don't have any client billings next week. And there's an investment that I want to make in my business. I really want to spend money. However, I see that I don't have a lot of money coming in. Makes that decision really clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, it can also give you permission to spend.
I love that. And not only permission to spend, but the other thing that occurred to me as you were describing this, okay, is that things that we measure can be improved. And so if you see that on the dashboard, that money isn't coming in, that lights you up to be like, okay, let's keep moving. Let's find a way. Is there some way that I can market something, or some way that I can bring up, you see marketers all the time talking about cash infusion, and doing maybe like a quick flash sale or something like that. It inspires you to troubleshoot in that way, right?
Of course. So that's why I always include the sales piece of it, because if I am not hitting my goals and I've actually maybe decreased revenue from this month last year, it really changes where I need to spend my time and attention. Do I really need to attend another course or training? No, I need to be on revenue generating activities.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So that was for if you don't have software, those are just the things you need to pull, which you can get from all of your accounts and very easily. When I think about the online banking and in every way, you can pull these numbers very easily, track them weekly. Okay. And then if you do have the software,
I love two reports, and these are two reports that our clients get every single month when we send them their financials. So it is your profit and loss by month for the previous 12 months. Now, I want you to look at your profit, not your sales. It's your sales minus cost of goods sold. Your cost of goods sold should include any direct cost to contractors, employees, yourself. Maybe you're purchasing product or software that directly services your clients. I suggest that you run that report over the last 12 months because you could really start to look at seasonality.
mm-hmm.
Every business has a season, and it will help you start to look, okay, last May, I had a decline in sales. Well, let me reflect on that. What happened last May? Did I do something? Was it the marketplace? And then you can change your behavior. Instead of freaking out every May, your business is flailing, you can run a special. You can schedule a vacation, right? You can change your mindset and the behavior around the seasonality. So I want you to be running the profit and loss for the last 12 months. The next report is another report out of QuickBooks. It's your percent of sales. It's your income statement as a percent of sales. This one is so freaking fun. I know. I'm an accountant. I find it fun.
You do you, boo. Let's do this.
But this tells you, I've had so many clients say to me, oh my God, I spend 10% of my sales there, because it's showing you how much of your sales are going to each category of expenses. And it can be really eye-opening. And if you track this month over month, you're really going to see some trends.
Mm-hmm. Cough, cough, professional development. Yes.
Yes. Cough, cough, yes. And the last report I want you to run is your balance sheet. And this one is one that people are scared to talk about because balance sheet sounds very accounting.
It does. It sounds very official.
I know. Profit, loss, P&L, like that feels a little bit more fun. We hear that term a little bit more. However, I've changed my respect for this report post-pandemic. Unfortunately, what we've seen with our clients is more of our clients than ever before have a ton of debt. And some of them took the debt because they needed it. And some of them took the debt because it was an opportunity for low interest debt. However, you can forget about the debt that you have. You can forget what's coming up. And so your balance sheet can tell you a lot. It'll tell you your cash, your assets, inventory, accounts receivable, but I care less about all of that. I want you to pay attention to the debt health of your business. Debt is generally not your friend. If it's not handled right, it can really enslave your business. it can put you in handcuffs. And so I really want you to be paying attention to that debt amount and make sure that that is always within range, or that you have a plan to repay that debt.
Gotcha. Okay. So then that would be the profit and loss, the percent of sales, and the balance sheet. Is that right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. So those are the three reports. And then if for some reason you don't have the software yet, then you have another solution for that, which you've gone over, called the cash dashboard. And we can review what you said for what's included in there. And again, these numbers are going to help us make decisions with money going in and out. And not only that, but choices that we're going to make in terms of how we're spending our time in our business.
Yeah. Time, energy, expenses. I'd like to kind of flip this on its head because, rather than thinking of it as your report card of how well your business is doing it, let's think of it as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to possibly spend, right? It's like, it's not always bad, right? Like
Right.
people have so much shame and anxiety around their financial statements, but what if it's good? What if it's good news? We had a client who came to us a few years ago who she said to me, I need you to help me learn to operate my business at a loss. And I'm like, all right, kind of an odd request, but let's do it. So we did what we call a catch up. We brought all of her transactions into the accounting system. It was October timeframe. And I said to her, you don't have a loss, honey. you, you actually have a really high profit, and we need to make a fast plan because you're going to be paying a lot in taxes. And we did. We made a plan. She totally changed her mindset, though, right? Because what a shift. She came to me in scarcity and she left with abundance. And so when she went into that next year, she went in with a plan. She doubled down on her networking, on her conferences, on her marketing. I am watching her grow year over year. It is amazing to watch her. And had she not learned that lesson, switched her mindset, I don't know that she'd still be in business, right? Because she didn't think that she could even carry on the next month.
Yeah. And that's what a wonderful treat. But I do think your point that I want to highlight here is when you're looking at these reports, you're using them to help you. So don't think of it as a report card that this is telling you you're good or bad or whatever. And yes, it can be good news when you're like, I'm looking for some money because I'd like to spend. Ooh, there it is. Yay. But moreover, it is information. It just like we talk about this in the podcast all the time of staying curious, takes the judgment out of it. We're not here to judge. We're not here. You're not getting graded on this. It's more that we're staying curious to be like, ooh, what's going on? Like you said, if you're tracking the seasonality and you can see a shift, you get curious about it and you figure it out and you course correct. And that is a beautiful thing in business. And it's how we grow and we thrive.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay. Any other finishing thoughts and points of encouragement that you want to add? Something I didn't ask you?
The big one is just you're not alone. I think in entrepreneurship, it can be really lonely and isolating. And we can feel like, well, I'm the only one that has money mindset issues. I'm the only one that gets so overwhelmed by the numbers. You're not alone. You're not the only one. And the sooner you can release the shame around it, I promise you there's light on the other side. There's light on
Yes.
the other side. But don't let the isolating feeling keep you stuck in that hamster wheel.
That's right. I mean, we're here and there are so many more of us out there ready to help you, talk you through this, guide you. And speaking of which, how do we find you online so we can keep in touch and get that support we need?
Yeah. So best place to find us is Kickstart Accounting Inc. We are doing some really funny reels on Instagram. My team is hilarious. So if you are curious how we've possibly made accounting funny, you can find us at Kickstart Accounting on Instagram. And then we do have our podcast, Entrepreneur Money Stories. So again, if you're thinking, I'm alone in this, I don't know how to get over my money mindset, we have entrepreneurs coming in every day talking about how they're getting over their money mindset journey.
Love that. I'll make sure to have all those links in the show notes. So now let's have a little extra fun with a rapid wrap up, shall we?
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right, please fill in the blanks. So a song that lifts my spirits, makes me dance is?
Sunday Best. I don't know who sings that, but that's the name of the song.
Okay, I'm going to find that and get that on our podcast playlist. How about a quote or a mantra that inspires me that I share often?
Mind over matter.
That's a good one. It's simple, straight to the point.
I have a new one that's called Nobody Cares, but it sounds really hard. I said I was gonna start using it, but we think everyone's like watching us and everybody cares about everything we're doing, and like nobody cares.
I like that. I'm adding that. I'm always taking notes here, so I'm adding both mind over matter, but also nobody cares. Don't just let it go. Dance like nobody's watching. I dance like I don't care who's watching, but that's another thing entirely. All right. How about a resource? A book or an app, aside from QuickBooks, that has made my life better.
A book called Built to Sell.
Ooh, okay. And I will find that, get that. At any time a book is mentioned, I get the link in the show notes. So I'll definitely do that. All right. And last, but definitely not least, what or whom are you grateful for today?
My kids, they keep me motivated every day, which is funny because I get so frustrated. says every mother.
Yes.
But I'm grateful for who they are today and the little humans that they're becoming. So
shout out to the kids. That happens a lot here and I absolutely love it. And they really do. They inspire us and we're modeling for them. So let's keep it up. Okay. Well, Danielle, I am so grateful for you and that we connected and that you came here and so generously offered us your wisdom and your encouragement to let go of the money stories and know our numbers. So thank you for shining your light in this world. And thank you for sharing it with us today.
You're so welcome.
Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious and limited, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback, questions, or want to schedule a chat, head to positivelyproductive.com/connect. And if you are looking for any of the resources referenced on the podcast, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.